Hello, and welcome to this session about Workspace ONE ManagedVM. My name is Pim Van de Vis, and I'm a Senior Solutions Architect at VMware. So, a little disclaimer, because this product is currently actually in beta. By the time that this goes live, that status might have changed, but that's the status as of now. So, what is Workspace ONE ManagedVM? It's a new product that that's now in beta that we will be going live with. And it's easy to think of it as a VDI, but then running locally. So what are the use cases for that? Well, we've actually heard a lot of use cases from customers, but one of the use cases I typically hear is external contractors that come in to do a job for a specified amount of time. They need to have access to company resources in a secure way, but it's very expensive to provide these external contractors with a laptop to be able to access those resources securely. And typically those contractors already have a state-of-the-art, very fast laptop. So it doesn't make sense that they need to carry two laptops now. So with Workspace ONE UEM ManagedVM, you can actually deploy a VM to these people that they can use to access those resources securely, because the VM will be under management by Workspace ONE UEM, and the VM can also be deleted once it's no longer needed. And the laptop itself will not be under management or can stay under management by any other third-party solution. So this has been done before in the past, even by VMware, but the big difference now is that we have Workspace ONE UEM that can make this VM very secure and is a very reliable solution, has proven its scalability and robustness. So a lot of customers are very looking forward to start using this. So if you want to start using Workspace ONE ManagedVM, the process is in 3 steps and 3 phases. So that's what I want to focus this session on, explain what is needed to get started with this. So the first step is authoring the VM. That means you create and prepare a Windows 10 virtual machine. The next step is to deploy it, means copying the VM to the bring your own device. And the last step is provisioning, where you boot up the virtual machine for the first time and it automatically enrolls into Workspace ONE UEM. So let's take a little bit deeper looks into these steps. Authoring the VM, for this we're leveraging the Workspace ONE dropship provisioning process. That means that you need to create a PPKG file that contains some applications. In this case, since it's a VM, it will include the VMware tools as recommendation, and it should include the managed VM agent. And on top of that, you need an unattended XML that will be used by the VM at first start to automatically go through the UBI process, the out-of-the-box experience, and automatically enroll the VM into Workspace ONE UEM. Now, the good thing is to create this PPKG and unattended XML, there is a user-driven wizard in the Workspace ONE UEM console, which I'm going to demonstrate in a couple of seconds. The next step is that you need to build a Windows 10 image. You can do this using VMware Workstation or VMware Fusion on your host laptop and you should treat this as a sort of golden VM image. And then you need to prepare this VM and create a package out of it, basically doing a sort of sysprep. For this, we have the Workspace ONE provisioning tool. That's a free tool that you can download from the My Workspace ONE portal. And this will be used to apply the PPKG and the unattended and then sysprep the machine and actually create a zip file that contains the whole VM so that it's ready to deploy. And what we've added here is that you can also sign this zip file. So you can use a certificate to sign it and create a hash, etc., so that you can prevent the VM from being tampered with in the process. So when you deploy the actual VM, this certificate will be checked again, and if it doesn't match, you simply cannot deploy the VM, just to protect it and make sure it's secure. So the next step is to deploy this VM to the bring your own devices. Since it's a zip file, typically in size 6 to 8 gigabytes, it's a little bit bigger, but you can use any kind of file copy tool that you would like to transfer this to the client. Think of it, stuff like OneDrive, you can put it on the file share, you can send an email with a link where they can download it, or simply put it on a USB key. And again, the package signing prevents tampering of the managed VM package during transit. And finally, you need to provision the VM. So to provision the VM, you need a couple of things on the bring your own device laptop. That's threefold. You need to have either Workspace VMware Workstation, VMware Fusion if it's a Mac. You need the managed VM agent again, but then in host mode. And you need, of course, the VM package itself. Now, currently it's a couple of commands that you need to run to install this. I'm currently working on a blog post where I'm creating a script to automate this whole press so that users can simply double click a script or a file or a download link where it installs all the required components on the endpoint. And once that's done, the VM will be registered to Workspace ONE, to the VMware Workstation. It will check if it meets all the requirements. And as soon as the VM gets booted the first time, it goes through the out-of-the-box experience and automatically enrolls into Workspace ONE. Once it's enrolled, Workspace ONE has complete management over the VM, so it can encrypt the VM with a BitLocker profile, it can apply baselines, you can distribute any app that you would like. So that's a very secure and very cool way to access your corporate resources from a VM without tampering with the bring your own device laptop. So let's have a quick look at a demonstration where we go through these steps. So the first step, authoring the VM. We'll start with the Workspace ONE UEM management console, and we're going to create a PPKG file. So as mentioned, this needs to include the managed VM MSI, which is basically the agent that can be installed in a couple of ways. It can be installed in provisioning mode, in guest mode, and in host mode. For this case, it needs to be in guest mode, so you just specify the type is guest when you want to deploy this. Then you can export this to a PPKG. And in this PPKG, you can include any applications that you would like to pre-install in the golden VM image. So you could include Office or any other of the applications that you'd like. So the first step is to create an unattended XML. And this unattended XML can be used to define what should the VM do when it first boots up. Should it join Azure AD, an on-prem AD, or simply a workgroup? You can basically define all the steps that need to be automated in the out-of-the-box experience process so that the user will not be bothered with this. So it will be a complete silent booting of the VM, enrolling, and the user is good to go. You can specify a local username and password. If you don't specify this, the user will be prompted to choose its own local user and password. And of course, the most important piece here is that you need to specify the Workspace ONE enrollment details. So what Workspace ONE enrollment server would you like to enroll to? What's the OG? And you need to specify a staging account that can be used to silently enroll this VM into Workspace ONE. So once that's done, you can click Next, and this will be the step where you need to specify which applications you want to include in the PPKG file. We're going to include the VMware tools, and you can include Office if you would like, or any of the other apps. In this case, we're also going to include the provisioning agent, because that way the VM will be immediately under full management. So this will take a couple of seconds to create. So we're going to refresh the page a couple of times. And as soon as this process is done, in the background, you can download the PPKG and the unattended XML. So once you have these files, you can switch to the VM, and you need to boot this VM in author mode so that you can actually sysprep the machine in audit mode, so that you can sysprep the machine and apply the PPKG. So to apply this, we have a provisioning tool available that you can download, where you simply select the PPKG file and the unattended XML file, and you select to shut down the VM once you're done, because it will be ready for packaging. And this will also automatically go through the sysprep process so that the VM will be ready to boot up the first time. So because this will install the VMware tools, it will switch the resolution a couple of times. So the screen will change. There we go. As you can see, everything installed successfully, and the VM will shut down automatically. Now, the final step is to capture this VM in a zip file. And for this, we're going to use, again, the managed VM MSI, but now installed in host mode. So this is on my physical laptop. We're going to run the managed VM executable. We're going to specify that we're going to create a package. Then we define the VMX file, the virtual machine file, basically the VM that should be included in this package. We're going to specify the group ID. where it needs to enroll in, and the organizational name. And we're going to use the no sign because we're not going to use signing, just to speed up the process. And since this is a demo, we don't need the signing. And we're going to specify where the package needs to be stored. As you can see, there's an intelligence in here. It says the VM still has an ISO map. That should not be the case. And there's Bluetooth devices being shared. So I've gone back to my VM, changed that, and ran the command again. And as you can see, it now starts creating the virtual machine package. This will be a zip file, I think 7 gigabytes in size. I speed up the video a little bit, so this should be done in a couple of seconds. Now, the final step is to deploy this. Just copy the file over to the bring your own device. And as soon as it's on the bring your own device, you need to register, basically extract the VM and register it in VMware Workstation. So for that, again, we need to use the managed VM, but now we're going to do a provisioning action. We're going to specify the package, the zip file, and we're going to specify that we want to notify the user. And again, we're not going to verify if it's signed, since it's a proof of concept anyway. And the good thing is that you can, of course, automate this with a script, but you can notify the user. So once this is done, the user will get a nice notification that a new virtual machine has been registered and is ready for use. There you go. That's the notification. So now the final step left for the user is to simply boot up the VM, and you can add a time bomb here. So you can say this needs to be done within 30 days. So boot up the VM and enroll it. Otherwise, the VM becomes invalid. So in this case, we're going to power up the VM, and this will take the VM through the whole automatic enrollment process. This is the same as the factory enrollment process, which has been demoed many times before. So I'm not going to focus on that in this demonstration. I do want to show one more thing, and that is that the VM, once deployed and registered on the device for bring your owns, is that the VM is managed. As you can see, everything is grayed out. You cannot add hardware. It automatically adds a virtual TPM, and it also encrypts the VM. And on the bottom of the screen, you can see that some settings of this virtual machine are managed by Mondi Corp in this case. So the VM is under management. That means the user cannot tamper with it. You can simply boot it up, and as soon as it will be wiped, it can be deleted again. So that was the demo. There are some requirements to get started with this. You need Workspace ONE UEM 2008 or later. The managed VM OS needs to be Windows 10. The version of Workstation Pro needs to be 16.1 or newer, and Fusion needs to be 12.1 or newer. And as mentioned, the current status is beta, but by the time this video goes live, that might have been changed. So if you want to start using this beta, you can go to the Digital Workspace Beta portal from VMware. If you don't have access there, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. If you do have any other questions, again, feel free to reach out to me, and you know where to find me. Thanks for watching, and enjoy VMworld.